As I start discussing this subject today, I wanna talk first to my friends who are responsible gun owners, that they teach their children the respect for a firearm, what its power is, what it's capable of, what it's used for, that they train their children properly. You're not who I have in mind when I'm discussing this particular legislation that's being offered in Colombia. Uh, you're not. Well, who I have in mind is the man who brings his firearm and lays his pistol on the bed, loaded, and then leaves his house while his children are alone in the house with that firearm in plain sight. And when he comes home, finds one of his children shot because that gun was there. That's who I have in mind when I'm discussing House Bill 3416. Representative Putnam and a number of others, 53 others actually, have introduced a piece of legislation that would make it illegal for a doctor in the state of South Carolina to ask his patient or her patient whether they own firearms, whether there are firearms in the home. Representative Putnam said in an interview, it wasn't ever to exclude physicians of talking about safety. We don't want physicians to make a log of patients and who owns guns and what types. We want to send a message to the citizens of South Carolina that they are not going to be intruded on every time they go to the doctor for a flu or cold. Later on, others mentioned that they were concerned about the Affordable Care Act being used to require doctors to make a list of gun owners. The problem is there actually isn't any provision in there to make that list. The president mentioned in one of the executive orders that there was nothing in the legislation or any of these executive orders that would prevent doctors from talking to their patients about firearms, but nowhere does it suggest that doctors have to talk about guns. Nowhere does it suggest that they have to make a log or list. Now, a couple things. I believe that the HIPAA laws would prevent a doctor from making a log of patients who all own firearms, because that information is between a doctor and patient, and that would be protected by the HIPAA laws, and that would be in that patient's file, but they couldn't make an outside log. I could be wrong, but I believe I'm not. Second, it appears that these representatives want to protect the Second Amendment by curtailing the First Amendment. They're saying that a doctor cannot cannot ask this question. That's infringing on the freedom of speech, right? Third, a big hullabaloo about the Affordable Care Act is that we don't want doctors getting in between we don't want government getting in between doctors and patients. Isn't this government getting in between doctors and patients? Now, I know. I will say that some of my friends, those responsible gun owners included, are concerned that because there are doctors who believe owning a firearm is a health risk, that it's not a good thing, that there shouldn't ever be a firearm in anyone's home. There are some of those. Just like there are some plumbers and mechanics and lawyers and waitresses who believe the same thing. But in this case, the issue is, I know the bill says you can talk about safety, but are you going to talk to someone about the benefits of treating diabetes if you don't know they might have diabetes or symptoms of diabetes? No, you're not. Asking whether they have a firearm, whether there's a firearm in home, and then going on to discuss safety, respect for the firearm, whatever, is a health-related issue. Ownership of guns is not a health risk, but there is an issue that you want to make sure that people are safe, that they take care of their children, that protect their children. This is mainly about the children. Doctors across the state are unhappy with this law. A lot of them think it's ridiculous and say that they believe it's unconstitutional. It's intervening into what the doctor and patient do in the privacy of the exam room. One doctor mentioned that She had a 4-year-old child come in complaining of an earache, and among the questions she asked about trying to determine what caused the earache was, has the child been around a firearm that was shot in close range? That could cause an earache. I understand that there's a concern that government's going to take your guns. I understand that there's a concern that some people want to get rid of guns. But this bill, House 3416, is not the answer. First of all, there's not been a list being created. There are doctors talking to their patients about many uncomfortable things, many things about safety. Look, doctors talk to patients who have children, or parents of children that are patients, about making sure that the poisonous chemicals that they use around the house are in locked places. They talk to their patients about putting plugs, a cover in the outlets, gates at stairs, talking to their patients about safe ways to handle a firearm around a child is another one of those things. Folks, we have to be, and now I am talking to my friends that are responsible gun owners, because I understand you look at this and say, I do that. I teach my child. I don't need my doctor telling me that. Fine. When your doctor asks you, you can tell your doctor, yes, well, this is what I do. And in your file, that's what they'll say. Sensible. This isn't even an infringement on the Second Amendment rights. They're not telling you can't own your firearm or you can't bear it. They're simply saying, hey, can I give you some advice? And you and I both know that there are many, many, many people out there who don't have education about firearms, who own firearms and not take care of it. And an occasional reminder, don't forget to keep the gun out of the hands of your children, it's not a bad thing. You need to contact your representative and tell them, let's be common sense here. We don't need a bill that interferes on the First Amendment rights of our doctors and gets in between the doctor and the patient. And you have every right to not answer your doctor's question or find a new doctor. All right, you can find us on canIGetAWordIn.com. We usually post a new podcast on Mondays. You'll have the videos. You'll have other information there. You can go to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast channel there, Another Voice with Jason and Eric, or you can go to Facebook at Another Voice with Jason and Eric and find us there. We're going to have another podcast this coming Monday. We're going to be talking about rides for strides. So I encourage you to check us out late Monday evening to get the newest podcast. All right. Have a good week. Be safe.